There's a fly hanging around. Okay, so yeah, we all met at the Birmingham A Place in the Sun. I hope you all enjoyed that, and you started the research into the. There is a little fly in here. Into the start of the process of making your move to Spain and getting your visas. And today we're going to be talking about the non-lucrative visa, okay, which is the non-working visa. Okay,
Can she see? No,
I can see. I can see everybody. If your cameras are off, I can't see you. If the cameras are on, I can see you. I've muted you all for now, just so that then afterwards, what we'll do is we'll unmute and we can ask questions. Hello. Hola. Perfect. Perfect. So we'll make a start. And as people join, I'll accept them. Okay. There's Andrew. You all met Andrew at the show as well. He was there doing the cartwheels. And unfortunately, Joe can't make it with us today.
Yeah,
so
I put down.
I can't take him anywhere. So non-lucrative visas. One of the most popular visas. Oh, somebody else is joining. 1 second. One of the most popular visas, and that is a non-working visa. Okay. Commonly known as the retirement visa. So it's a visa that converts to residency. It's a two-prong visa. Okay. Perfect. Just giving it a few more seconds as I'm just admitting a few more people and then we will make the start. Right, okay, I think that's it now. So you all met me at a place in the sun in Birmingham. Some of you sat down with me, but so we recap, my name is Emma. I'm from Aldertons. We're based in Benissa on the Costa Blanca, also known as the Marina Alta. We're located between Valencia and Alicante. Okay. We're about 50 minutes from Alicante Airport, an hour and 10 maybe from Valencia. Okay. I'm qualified in Spanish immigration and I run the immigration side of Aldertons. You also spoke to Joanne Alderton or Andrew, who's popped out now, or Kate on the stand, and they would have spoken to you about our services like the property finding service. Last week, Joanne and myself, we did the webinar on the sorry, 1 second, I'm just admitting somebody else. Last week did the webinar on the property purchase process as well. Okay. You'll also be seeing Joe and Andrew shortly on your screens for Sunseeing Selling Houses. So you'll see us all around. But I know that you are all very interested in making the move to Spain, whether it be now or in the next few months. Okay. And non-lucrative visas. Okay. So what we do is, as a property finder, is we actually help people make the full move to Spain. As a property finder, we assist people finding the property, but then there's the other side, which is helping people with the visas, the documentation, the residencies, the driving licenses, and every other bit of documentation that you can think of. Okay, that's what I really get to grips with. Okay. I'm one of those people that love paper. I love to work things out and go through everything. So you've all got British passports. Okay. And with Brexit, what the British passport now means is that you have 90 days in every 180 within Schengen, which is within basically Europe. Okay. Now, if you want to stay more than 90 days, you have to ask for residency in Spain. Okay. So residency in Spain, you get now by going to the Spanish consulate and requesting that visa that, as I said earlier, converts to residency. Okay. So the non-lucrative visa, you've probably all researched it and you've all looked into it. What it means, as I said, it's a two-step or a two-prong process. The first one starts back in the UK, and the second part is here in Spain. So the first part is when we gather all the documents together and attend the consulate, the nearest consulate that you have to your address. And the second part is when you're here in Spain and you do that fingerprint in front of the national police and you're given that ID card. Okay. So what documents? What's the steps? What's the processes? Well, the first thing you need to understand is that the non-lucrative visa is residency in Spain. It's fiscal residency in Spain. When you get a non-luc visa, a non-lucrative visa, you are saying to Spain, I'm here, I want to be resident, I want to live here, this is going to be my home. And the requirements of the visa mean that you will be staying in Spain more than 183 days of the year. Now, the 183 days are key because 183 days is when the tax residency kicks in. So when you become a non-lucrative visa holder, you become a tax resident and you do your declarations here in Spain as opposed to the UK. Okay. So that's key. It isn't a way to bypass the 90 days and 180. It is residency in Spain. So there's a few little avenues here. Depending on your circumstances, you may be retired or an early retiree. Fantastic. You're going to come over and you're going to live in Spain full time. We're going to have to show a series of documentation, and the documents are criminal record check. Now, in the UK, you will have a DBS check, but for immigration purposes, we need a document that details your full history, and that's known as the ACRO certificate. And the ACRO certificate, as I said, it details absolutely everything from when you were born. However, anything that shows there, immigration are meant to consider the last 5 years. However, the ACRO shows everything. Then we need to show the criminal history. Then we need to show, because you now are a tropical country, we have to show that you have no tropical illnesses. It does make me laugh, this one. So you have to show a certificate to say that you've got no illnesses as per international health regulations. I'm not talking about asthma, diabetes. I'm talking about dengue fever, yellow fever, Nile fever, malaria, which all we have to do is we have to have a meeting with the doctor and you declare that you have none of those illnesses. And that's acceptable, okay? We also have to show that you've got health coverage for Spain. Okay, now this is where documents can change. If you are retired and you're receiving your UK state pension, you can ask for an S1 document. And the S1 document is a reciprocal healthcare agreement between the UK and Spain. Okay, what that means is that when you enter Spain, you have an S1 and you're on that non-lucrative visa, you fall over and hurt yourself, you go to the hospital, the UK ultimately pay that hospital bill because you've paid your national insurance contributions to the UK, and the UK and Spain have an agreement. For those of you that aren't eligible for an S1, you'd have to take out private health insurance. And we've got a fabulous team of people that we can recommend who have worked with clients before, and they can give you a questionnaire, you fill them out, and they would be able to give you a quote. The good thing is we know that these people work in our area. They work between Valencia and Alicante. They've got a list of hospitals and doctors that you can all, so I'm just going to omit somebody else, that you can all attend and that are all accepted. Okay, they all speak English as well. Just letting this gentleman join so that we all know that they're working and they're working in this area. So your healthcare will be taken care of. However, it's very important when you start taking out healthcare policies here for your visa that we don't start them straight away, because you have to have a visa and a healthcare insurance policy that run simultaneously for the full year. If you start that health insurance policy off too quick, what will happen is that you will have a time period where you're uncovered for insurance, and they don't like that at the consulates. They will ask you to extend your healthcare policy or to take out a new policy. So what we have to do is timings on visas is critical. We have to work out timings for everything, okay? And one of those is for the healthcare insurance and the visa start date to run simultaneously. Oh, hang on 1 second. I'm just going to mute. Yeah. So we're just going to have to make sure that everything runs simultaneously there. Okay. Then we've got the criminal history, certificate of good health, no malaria, dengue fever, and health insurance. Proof of funds. Now, this is an interesting one. Proof of funds for this year for the first applicant is €28,800. And for the second applicant, if we show that you have a relationship or a marriage that was prior to the application, okay, the second applicant has a reduction and they have to show €7,200. That can be joint bank accounts with that money in. And it can also be passive income. Remember, you're on a non-lucrative visa, which is a non-working visa. So you can't show any active salary going into your account, okay? This means we have to show passive income, rental income, pensions, that can be state or private pensions, not non-participating dividends from a company if you own a company, but it cannot be a salary, okay? So if you have a pension that's coming in, say state pension, and it's 10,000 a year, you know you've got to show for the first applicant a further €18,800. So that can be in savings, or it can be pensions. It can be a mixture of, as long as you can show to the consulate on your application 28,800 for the first person and 7,200 for the second. Okay. Now, if you're going to show a single account with the money in and you're married, you'll have to show a marriage certificate, but not the original from when you got married, because immigration needs to see an updated version. Okay. And the reason is that they can't see the registry records in the UK. So what they want to see is they want to see an updated marriage certificate issued within 3 months of your appointment. Now, that marriage certificate, the health certificate, the police certificate, they will all have to be what's known as apostilled. Now, this is a really unusual thing for us because we've never had to do things like this before. But an apostle, I've got a piece of paper here to hold up. An apostle, you've got your certificate, your police certificate, and somebody from the police has signed it. What apostle does is it verifies that signature is somebody that works in that department. Okay, and that it is a true document. So you have, and what happens is that certificate has the apostle stuck on the back of it. And then the translation, because you're asking to come to Spain and they will need a sworn translation, will then be done on both the certificate and the apostle on the reverse. So that means that's the police certificate, marriage certificate if required, and the good health certificate will need to be apostilled and sworn translated for the consular appointment. Okay. Now, the consulates in the UK are in Edinburgh, Manchester, London. And you can't pick where you're going to go, unfortunately. Otherwise, I'd be picking more than how you have to go where your catchment is for your address. So, as a general rule, if you are south of London, Hampshire, where I'm from, going all the way down to Cornwall, you're going to go up, and Kent, for example, you're going to go to London. Wales actually has a line through it. Some go to London, some go to Manchester. Okay. And then when you're going further north, you're going then to the Scottish consulate, Spanish consulate. Okay. All of them require the documentation first for them to open up the appointment system. So they want to see that you've got those documents with the apostle and the sworn translation in order to open up a consulate appointment. Oh, 1 second, there is a telephone ringing. There you are, perfect. So yeah, so we're the process and the documents that are required, they're there. What is the thing that we have to always take into consideration is the timings of visas. So many of you will be looking and going, right, I want to move next year, or I want to move the second part of the year. So sometimes what you have to think about is what is it in the UK that you're doing? Are you selling your UK property to make the move to Spain? Have you purchased in Spain yet? And this is where myself, for example, I get into that nitty-gritty, the timings. So you have to take into consideration selling a UK property and buying your property here in Spain. And what happens is that we have to think about the time it takes to get documentation together, how long a consulate normally takes to respond, and the issuance of the visa to when you can come in. So to get all the documents together, you're going to need between 6 and 8 weeks. Okay. And the reason being is that at the moment, the ACPRO police certificate, there was a security breach at the very beginning of the year. And therefore, it's taken a while to process those applications. Okay. Then once we've got them, they have to be apostilled and translated. So they're going to take a little while to come through. Then we've got to send them for the apostle, the translation. If you use the government to do the apostle, the UK government, they're taking around 3 weeks for the apostles. Okay. Whereas I've got a company that is able to do the apostles and translations, and their turnaround time is approximately 7 to 10 days for everything, the apostle and translation. Once we've got everything, that's when I contact the consulate and I say, hello, Manchester, hello, London. And I give all your details and I show that you have made the step and that you're serious and you've got these documents, and they will open the diaries, and I can then book a day and a time for you. Obviously, if you're traveling into London or you're traveling into Manchester, and I'm not going to book you the 9 o'clock appointment or the 8:30 appointment, because I know you got rush hour in the UK, your traffic doesn't move very far. So I know that you need to have time to get in there. So I'll book you like the 12 o'clock, the 1 o'clock, whatever's best for you. Okay. Then the consulate have the right to take 90 days to respond to your visa application. Now, depending on the consulate and depending on the staff and holidays, fiestas in Spain, many of the consulates, they have variants. London, for example, they're taking around 8 weeks to respond at the moment. Manchester, they've suddenly picked up again after summer, and they're now catching up, and they're now taking 9 weeks, for example. Edinburgh is normally quite good. They're answering about 7 weeks. However, they do reserve the right to take up to 90 days. Okay. Now, when you go and pick up your visa, it's stamped in that passport of yours. And you'll go, Emma, it's only 3 months. Isn't it meant to be for a year? The visa is for 3 months. It's for you to make entry into Spain. Okay. So once you've got that visa, You can make entry into Spain on that visa. And from there, we have to get you registered at a town hall for an address. So in your new home. And then you go and have your fingerprint done in the National Police Station. And they won't, unfortunately, they can't print TIEs on the spot. They give you a temporary piece of paper in the meantime. About 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, you can go back, check the fingerprint machine is working correctly, and then you will get your TIE card. And you'll see then that the expiry date on your TIE card is for the further 9 months. So in total, from the visa to the residency, you'll have that first year of residency. Okay? 1 year. But then you're in Spain. And you're in Spain, and then we've got all the other good things to do as well. If you're UK, exchanging your driving license, for example. So I'm just admitting somebody else into that room. Then you'll say to me, Emma, what happens after 1 year? What do we need to do? Do we have to go back to the consulate? Do we have to start the process again? No. What we have to do is we do the renewal, but from Spain. Okay? From Spain. And the renewals, we have to show that you've got healthcare coverage and you've got sufficient funds to support yourselves. Now, you'll see a lot on the forums, they'll say, you'll need to have double the amount. You'll need to have this, you'll need to have that. In our area, in the Valencian community, okay, they are accepting different forms of proof of funds. So you can show that you've got double the amount in your account if you wish, or you can show that you've got your passive income coming in like you did when you went to the consulate. You can also show that you own a property with no mortgage. Okay, so what the Valencian community is one of the only communities in Spain that are allowing different forms for proof of funds on renewal. They're not just saying we need to see what's in your bank. They're allowing different views. Okay, and the renewal you'll get for 2 years. Then you renew it again from Spain. You get a further 2 years. And then after 5 years, you'll be asking for permanent residency in Spain. And permanent residency in Spain, you'll get on that ID card, permanente. Okay? Permanente. And that permanente, you'll then, all you've got to do after 5 years is renew that ID card. And the Spanish are the same. They have to renew their ID cards as well. They have an ID card and they have to renew their ID cards. Okay. Now, for those of you that are in the UK, at the moment, the costs for the consulate, when you go to the consulate, are £516 per person. And the reason I say in the UK, if you were doing it from a different part of the world, there's different agreements between different countries and the prices can vary. But from the UK, it's £516 per person, per applicant. Now, if you are taking children with you, they are an applicant on their own as well. So whilst they're under your umbrella, you would still have to pay the consulate fee. Okay? Perfect. Right. So just to recap, non-Luc visa, you're becoming a resident of Spain. You're moving over, you've got a house and residency. 1 year first, 2 years for the renewal, and then 2 years again. Okay. Just looking at the questions that came up. When you are on a non-lucrative visa, you can't work at all in Spain or in the UK. Okay. A lot of people say I could remote work. No, because you'd be showing a salary and they're not going to allow that. There's the new digital nomad visa for remote workers. So you can't work. What you can do after 1 year, if you wanted to work or you've been offered a job, is you can convert the visa to allow working conditions. Okay, but it is a non-working visa. And many of the consulates will ask sometimes to see either the P45 or the P60 to show that you're not working. And if you were self-employed, a letter from HMRC to that effect to say you're not registered as working there. Okay. That is especially for people that are early retirees. Sometimes Spain want to just check that you're not going to come over and work. Okay, because it's a non-working visa. Some of you will be bringing children or parents who are dependent on you. Okay, so you've got young children or you've got elderly parents that need to be with you, and that's fine. They will need exactly the same documentation. Okay, you will all be seen together, but if they are dependent on you financially or medically, then we need to show that. So we need a doctor's certificate to say that they are medically dependent, or we need to show children, for example, we have to prove they're your children. So we have to show their long birth certificate. Okay. But you can bring them over. They can be at your address. You've just got to prove that there's enough financial finances there to support everybody in the family unit, and that everybody has healthcare coverage, whether it be S1 or whether it be through private health insurance. Somebody's asked me, how long does it normally take for a decision? 90 days. Normally 90 days. Normally we hear within those 90 days. Hopefully I can get it through quicker for everyone. And then somebody's asked, how long is the visa valid? 1 year. Now, that first year, if you were here in Spain, as I say, if you're here in the Valencian province, in the Alicante area, we can make that renewal application for you. If you renew your non-lucrative visa, it'll be 2 years and 2 years. If you decide to convert your visa to a working condition, it will then be at the discretion of immigration how long they will give you. It could be the duration of a contract, but that would be at the discretion of immigration then. Okay. So everybody who is, oh, let's just have a look. So I've got a question coming in here. Can the price of a non-sold house in the UK count in your potential income? It could be included if you had it rented out, a passive income. So if you've got a house in the UK and that you're renting it out, that's a passive income. So you could use that as proof of funds because you're not working. Your house is doing what it's doing and it's bringing that income in for you. Okay. But as a value as such to go towards the visa, no, because it would be in the UK. But if it was rented out, yes, they would consider that for the visa application. Okay. What they would want to see at the consulate is the rental contract and proof that that rent has been paid into your bank account on a monthly basis. Right. So, is it necessary to apply personally? Yes. The consulate want to see you. They want to see your passport. They want to make sure it's you and check all those documents. And then they want to check that it's you. And if you're taking children, they want to see the children as well. And if you're taking elderly parents, again, they need to see them. So everybody needs to go. They'll try and get you done as quickly as possible, especially if you've got children or elderly parents with you. They'll try to see you quicker. But they need to see them physically with the passport because they just need to see that they are who they say they are. The renewal costs, good question, John. When you do a non-lucrative visa and you want to renew it, there are costs. When you go to the consulate, they charge you £516 at the moment per applicant. When you renew it, you pay immigration a fee. This, at the moment, that fee this year is €16.40 per applicant. So it's a bit of a difference between the £516 that the consulate are charging, but that's consulate fees. Okay. These prices vary from year to year. Okay. Normally around January of every year, we get an update of what the costs are going to be through the consulate and what the costs are going to be for immigration. Okay. Also in January of every year, January is a very key month in immigration. In January of every year, they announce the amounts that need to be shown for the visa. So this year I said it's 28,800 euros. And in January, that's when they revise that. And it can fluctuate depending on the cost of living and things like that. I think in the UK, you have budgets and things a lot more often than what we have here in Spain. But for us, it's just after Christmas, which is the 6th of January. The government get back together and then they announce that amount. So those of people that are looking for having residency on the non-lucrative next year, these amounts may change. However, at the moment, it's £516 consulate fee per applicant, and it's 28,800 euros for the first applicant. Okay. Somebody has just asked, after a year, you can change it to a working visa. You can request the change of a non-lucrative visa. When you come to do the renewal, you put in the proof that you've either done your market research and you would like to be self-employed, or that you would like to, or you've got a contract, somebody's offered you a job, and you would like to convert the conditions of your visa from non-working to working. Okay. You have to ask permission and not forgiveness with immigration. Okay. And that permission is, hey, I'm here. I would like to do the renewal of the non-lucrative visa, but I have this opportunity. Is it possible? And they will review. Okay. You have to do everything for this residency for the non-lucrative in person. So the consulate fee is in person, and the ID card, the TIE card, is in person. The TIE, because they're going to take your fingerprint to put on your ID card. Now, what I should say is that the TIE card and the NIE, everybody gets confused between the two. An NIE number is an identity number. Okay, all foreigners have an NIE number. You ask for it and you get the NIE. And that NIE number is your first step into immigration. But if you don't have one, not to worry, you will be issued one at the same time as your visa application going through. Okay, and those that have got one, you show the consulate, hey, I've got my NIE. And the only reason you're doing that is because you've already got an immigration file open. And all they want to do is put the applications together and make it nice and neat and just review it all. Okay, so if you've got an NIE, that's fine. You've got a file open and they can put that information against your name, and you'll still keep your NIE number. It will come up on your TIE. One of the questions I've also got is, when you become a permanent resident, are you able to become a Spanish citizen? Now, there's a difference between residency and citizenship. Residency is that you live in Spain, you're paying your taxes here, you're enjoying the Spanish lifestyle. And citizenship is your Spanish passport. You are eligible after 10 years to ask for Spanish citizenship. And what you'd have to do is take a Spanish language test and a social test. And the social test is a multiple choice questionnaire. I've done it myself. And it's about the geography, the history, politics, culture of Spain. Okay. And then you could ask for your Spanish passport if you wanted to. So yeah, it definitely leads to citizenship. You have to do 5 years first, 10 years first, and then you'll be able to ask for your Spanish passport. I'm doing it myself at the moment, so I'm very excited that soon I'll have a Spanish passport. Okay. When we have the documentation, I've got somebody asking a question here. How long does it take to get the appointment? The appointment, normally we send off those documents to the consulate, and we have to then wait for them to release the diaries. Those diaries can take up to 7 days for them to release. Okay. Once they've sent the diaries through, we can then look. London, they do it on normally about 2 weeks in advance. We can see their diaries. Manchester, that we can normally see a few days in advance. So if I look today, I would see Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday of next week, as Monday and Thursday bank holidays. Okay. And Edinburgh, they go, what day is best for you? Each consulate's slightly different. So yeah, normally if you give us, once we've got all the documentation together, Normally we would get that diary from the consulate within a week, and we could then choose when you're going to the consulate. Okay. There's also questions here about removals, moving over, actually physically moving your stuff over, and when you can do that. Because of Brexit, okay, when you move stuff over, we now have to prove that you owned those possessions before you moved over. And one of the easiest ways of doing that is with what's known as a padron. That padron is when you're here and you have a property and you're just going for your fingerprint, you'll get a padron. That proves your address in Spain. And the provisional document that they give you from the police will prove that you're moving over to Spain. So when you do the removals, they're going to say to you, have you got your padron and have you got your visa or residency? Okay. And that proves that you're actually moving over, and therefore they can request that you're not charged import duty. Okay. You will have to show, now this is the good one, an inventory of what you're bringing over. And if it's electrical, my recommendation to you is that you have the tickets, the purchase tickets. The other option is if you're selling your house and you're moving the furniture over, take pictures of everything in situ. Okay. Why? Because it shows the border agent that's there that you had those possessions in your house when you were selling them. So they're not new. This stops people commercializing, they're buying a TV in one place and then they're coming over to sell it. Because of course, if you were to sell it, you'd be working. You'd be making an activity on that. Okay. So, okay. And then we do have recommendations for removal companies that can do the whole itinerary for you, pack up and deal with all those documents. Okay. So if you need assistance, just let me know. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is you have all been asking questions throughout, but what I'd like to do is, does anybody have any particular questions about the visa at all and the process? Just put your hand up or I'll mute yourself. No? Oh, somebody said if once we're in the UK. Yeah, your UK passports, when you go to the consulate, you'll have to have 1 year remainder on them. Okay. So you have to have the full year of the first visa within your passport validity. But if they expire when you're here, you can actually renew your UK passports. We can do it in the office if you'd like, but we can actually renew your UK passports from Spain. Okay. And what they do is we take all the pictures, we send it off to the gov.uk, and then they come and they deliver it. And we always ask for tracking of passports and things like that. So that's not a problem. We can actually, as long as you've got 1 year, they will always send back as well, which is really good, the old passports, and it will still have your visa in there for good luck. Oh, somebody was married in Antigua. I'm going on holiday to Antigua, people, to get the marriage certificate. What we do need to do, was that you, Paul? Hang on 1 second. If you unmute yourself, I'll be able to. Your microphone's not on, Paul.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're just a bit concerned about also we need a renewal of our marriage certificate within 3 months of the appointment. Would that be a problem dealing with the Caribbean?
Sometimes the Caribbean can be a little bit slower. Okay. And and sometimes they don't answer. I am still waiting for one. I think it was from Mauritius from many, many moons ago. So my recommendation on that one would be, let's show that you've got the relationship. Do you have children together? Do you own property together? Are you on the electoral roll? Anything else that would prove that relationship so that we could get around having to order that marriage certificate. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, Antigua, they might take a while. We can always order one and show that it's ordered, but the other way around is showing electoral rolls utility, that you've lived together, and that if you've got children, their birth certificates, things like that, just to prove the relationship prior to your application going into the consulate. And that is more than acceptable. And they do accept visas on those bases. Okay. Okay. Go on then, Susan. I'll ask you to unmute because I can see you putting your hand up.
Okay, yeah, go
There
on.
you are.
Yeah, we intended to buy a second property, maybe an apartment.
Okay.
So the rental income off that,
That's okay.
is that
Yeah.
is working or not?
No.
No, passive income. Renting is classed as passive income. So you could use that rental. Okay. Are you just thinking of buying that property in Spain to rent?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and if it's mortgage free, again, you can use the
Yeah.
deeds as well. Okay. But you could also use that passive income. You've got the contract, you've got the money going into your bank account every month. It's passive income. You're not working, the property's working for you. So
Yeah.
therefore, it's an acceptable form to prove your income.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And then also when you do the renewal, if you're is that property going to be in the Valencian community
Well, it'll
Yes,
be where we
yes.
live, yeah. Yeah.
where you live? Perfect. So as I said, Alicante, this area in particular, they are using deeds as and the rental contracts. When you come to renew, they like the fact that you've purchased a property and it's no mortgage, and they can see then that you've got an asset as well against your name. And if you've got a couple of properties like that, that's fantastic. You won't have a problem. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
you've got proof of funds and healthcare. Perfect.
Okay,
That's
thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. John, I saw you put your hand up there.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Hiya, how are you doing?
Good. Yeah, so we're thinking about sort of buying a property with a mortgage on a non-lucrative.
Yeah.
Does that make it more challenging, or is it sort of fairly straightforward?
No, what we would do is if you're buying a property on a mortgage, when you go to the initial consulate appointment, you will show in your UK bank account that you've got the 36,000 euros for two people.
Yeah.
When you come to renew, my recommendation is that you show your bank account and any other funds that you've got, but not to show that you've got the mortgage on the property, because then what they'll do is they'll say, oh, we've got to take off that mortgage to pay, and then have you got enough pending? So my advice would be, don't show that deed, show the funds in the bank account or the private pension that you've got or other passive income that you've got.
Yeah,
But that won't be a problem.
Yeah, sorry. So if you've got, because we're hoping not to keep our sort of house in the UK and sort of rent it out. So there is sort of collateral in the house. Does that stand for anything? Because basically, if we wanted to, move fully to and sort of be resident and sell our house here, then we'd, the house is worth sort of more than what we'd be buying there, so we'd be able to pay the mortgage off and etc. So can you do that with if you had a valuation of the house in the UK as sort of proof?
I think the only thing is if it's for the initial consulate appointment, if you had your house rented, if it's for the renewal, you mean?
So for the renewal, but also sort of coming back onto the point with the timing as well. Would we, to go to the consulate, would we have to show that we are earning a rental income from the house? Because technically we would still be needing somewhere to live until the visa and everything was
No, you don't need to show the rental contract if you've got the funds available or in your account or through a private pension. As long as you've got access to those funds without having to rent out the property, then you can rent out the UK house after you've got the visa and you've come over to Spain. When you do the renewal, your income from the UK property, you would translate the contract into Spanish and show the rental income coming in as well from there. And that would be considered as well as income for sufficient funds for the renewal. But what I personally wouldn't show is any mortgage deeds on a property.
Okay.
Purely only because experience, and I understand where they're coming from, but what they will say is
you need to show
you've got to show more that you can pay that and do exactly. So I wouldn't show that. What I would do is I'd do it the other way. I'd show the rental income from the house in the UK and that you've got some savings in the account.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've got another couple of questions.
Go on then, John. Go on. Yeah.
I'm just trying to I think so. One of them is because I'm still working. But when we sort of move over to Spain, then I would, potentially for that first year be non-working and sort of living off the pension and sort of rental income. And again, it's the both the timing, but also, is there any tax breaks? What the Spanish tax year and the UK tax year are different.
Are different, yeah.
So if we moved in May, for sake of argument, I would have a couple of months paying a UK sort of tax, and then I would have to leave my job in order to get the P45 to go to the consulate to show, to get the visa. And if everything sort of goes okay and we go to Spain, then is there in Spain on a non-lucrative visa, do you have like a tax-free allowance similar to what the UK does?
Yeah, it's slightly different. Our tax runs from 1st of January to the 31st of December. Okay. And as a Spanish tax resident, so on the non-lucrative visa, you'll be doing your declaration, okay, your tax return.
Yeah.
I think it's April, May, and June of every year. But we do that for the year previous. So we've done this year for last year. Okay.
All right. So you're always running a year behind.
We're always running a year behind.
Yeah.
Okay. So what would be good is if you're working, then obviously you're going to be paying your, up until you go to the consulate, you're going to be paying your UK taxes. Then when you move to Spain, depending on the time, everything depends on timings. It's all very personal. But basically, we have to work out the timings, and I have to put you in touch with somebody that deals with UK and Spanish taxes. Okay, so that you get those. So it's done correctly. However, our tax limit here in Spain is less than yours in the UK, so there will be a difference. But as it's so personal, and it depends on your circumstances here in Spain, how they do your taxes. Okay, are you married, children, own a property, that kind of thing. So what I would like to do is I will send everybody out the recording, and I will put in there as well some people that are, from accountants here in Spain that have the UK and Spanish system, and they will be able to advise you a lot better than I can on any type of taxes, especially the UK. Our tax year runs from the 1st to the 31st of January to the 31st, and we're in a year in arrears.
Yeah, because I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, in Spain they still get a tax, like a tax allowance on a mortgage. Is that right? Or
there on the mortgages. I'd have to check. I would have to check.
You used to get it in the UK probably 6-7 years ago, but then
I don't believe we've got any tax breaks on mortgages. I mean, I can check, but
if you've got a mortgage, you don't pay as much tax as somebody who's not got a mortgage.
No, I mean, you can put it into your
resident, or because that's a question.
Yeah, well, you'd be putting your mortgage in for your tax return to show that you've been paying, and then they would deduct. They would do the deductions if necessary. But again, it's very personal. So what I'll do is I'll put you in touch with somebody that can answer that a lot better than I can. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Is anybody else got any? Oh, there's some questions coming up here. 1 second. Let's have a look here. Hang on, there's a few that's come up. You'll all see my IT skills in progress here. Staying with friends. Until I'm able to buy a place. Okay, so the question is if it's better to leave possessions in a storage in the UK until you've brought a place. If you've got that the non-lucrative residency and you've gone through everything, you've got all the documents to be able to bring it over. However, if you've not found a property yet and you're looking and there's a time delay from when it goes to the notary, you have to take into consideration storage fees. Okay. Now, storage fees in the UK or storage fees here in Spain, the furniture is going to have to be stored somewhere. So whether you store it there and it's part of the package, or whether you store it here and it's part of the package, what's important is that when you bring over the possessions, the furniture, that it's your furniture and that it's all, you know, you've got that itinerary. Okay. Where you store it is up to you. But yeah, if you've not purchased or it's still going through the purchase of the property, you need to store it somewhere, whether you keep it in the UK for a month whilst your house is going through here in Spain, or whether you bring that furniture out, you keep it in storage here. We've got some good removal companies, and they can do either. They can either keep it in the UK or they can bring it here, have it ready. And when you've gone through to the notary, you've got that property, then they will organise bringing the furniture back to your property, your new home here in Spain, and getting that all in. Okay, but what's important is that you've got the padron and the visa for them to be able to do the paperwork. Okay. Then there's another one. Ooh. Okay, with regards to Granada province, when you do the renewals, I believe this is.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you're there. Hello. How are you?
Sorry, it's just that I don't think our camera's working.
That's all
It's
right.
Michelle
That's
and
all right.
Darryl.
So
blank,
you're looking at
so I
you're
think
looking
makes
at
me
moving
happy.
to you're looking at moving to Granada.
Yeah, we bought a property already. It's in the Granada province, just outside Granada.
Perfect. So Granada, with the renewals, all the communities are asking the same thing. They're needing to see that you've got sufficient funds for the renewal and that you've got healthcare taken care of. However, where it does fluctuate and where it is a little bit different in each community is if they accept deeds to a property or other documents. So, you know, I've done a few where it's the rest of Spain as well. I normally put them in. I normally put the deeds in without a mortgage. Why? Because it shows that you've got an asset in Spain. It shows that you've invested into Spain, and it's not going to harm your application to put in to say, hey, I'm here. Okay. However, you've got to be aware that they might ask for the bank account on the renewal. They're definitely going to ask for the amount that's currently in the bank, and they might ask you for a certificate of from the bank of what the average balance was in that account over the last year. But you can also show passive income, and you can also show UK bank statements as well.
Can you show it? Does all your money have to be in Spain, or can you show that it's in an English account?
You can show that it's in a UK account as well. What they do like to know is if what's in your UK account, especially when it comes to renewal, they do like to know what when you give it in pounds, they like to have a bit of a note to say it's this amount in euros.
Yeah.
Or they would like to have it sworn translated. It just depends on the person that picks up the file on the day, whether they speak the English and they can say, oh, it's going to be X amount of euros, or if it's, oh, I don't understand it, I need that in Spanish.
Yeah.
So, but normally putting your deeds in isn't going to harm your renewal application. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then let's just go. You're all testing my IT skills for a house to go. Let's have a look. Sorry, John, I've just seen your other message. Do you need to have an NLV or new buy? No, you don't need to have a non-lucrative visa to buy a property. What you need when you purchase a property is a NIE number, which is the ID number that any foreigner is given if they wish to make a purchase. You have to request that. Okay, normally that's here in Spain or through your consulate. Here in Spain, we have to go to the National Police, prove your ID, passport, okay, and they will issue a white certificate, and on there has your name, your date of birth, your nationality, and your NIE number. The NIE number, when you purchase a property, is so that you're able to pay purchase stamp duty, known as the ITP here in Spain, okay? And as I said before, that NIE is then carried forward on all your documents. So it'll be on your TIE card, it's your tax registration number here in Spain, driving license will have your NIE number on it. So you'll keep that NIE number throughout. Okay. What happens? Health insurance. Lucy has asked me. If you for health insurance, okay. So if you are state pension age or you're entitled to an S1 form, you don't need to have private health insurance. Okay. The S1 form, when you go to the consulate, we have to register that prior to your consulate appointment. And all that is a pre-registration to say that you're moving out to Spain and the UK has given you the S1 form. If you are not eligible for an S1, the only other way is to have private health insurance with an insurance provider from Spain. So I'm talking about DKV, ASA, Salus, okay? The price of those depends on pre-existing conditions, okay? So the normal package, as I say, it's paid a year in advance. You're looking around €1,000 per person. However, pre-existing conditions can boost that price up, okay? You have to pay for that in advance, and it has to start the start date of that policy has to go with the start date of your visa. So if in the application we put that your visa starts on the 1st of January, your insurance policy starts on the 1st of January. Okay, so you've always got health coverage. If after the second year, third year, fourth year, you're eligible for an S1, then we can register that S1. And when you do your renewal, we show the S1 registration, okay? And then you don't need your private health insurance. So you don't have to keep the whole time with private health insurance if you become eligible for an S1 in that time, okay? Let's have a look at the next question. Good question. UK bank accounts. So for example, you've got some big ones in the UK, Abbey and Santander. They're the same bank, but they're not linked to Spain. Okay. When you do a mortgage application here in Spain, they just want to see what funds you have got. So if you open your bank account and you ask for mortgage approval, okay, what they're going to want to see is what funds you've got at your availability. It could be in the UK, what assets you've got, where your money's coming from. Okay. If you're interested in a mortgage, we can put you in touch with people who deal with mortgages. And we've got people in the UK as well, and they can talk to you about mortgages in Spain, and for example, releasing equity in the UK. Then I've got another question here about S1s. S1s, yes, previous medical conditions still get treatment. The S1 is basically the equivalent of NHS here in Spain, okay? It is pre-existing conditions, GP visits, hospital, surgery, pharmaceuticals. So you go to the chemist, you're going to be paying the same as what the Spaniards do on products in the chemist, okay? So it is the equivalent of private health, the full kit and caboodle. All we have to do is register it before the consulate appointment, or when you're here and you're a resident, if you get the S1, then what we have to do is register it, and you get the certificate to say you're included, and you'll get the SIP card. Everybody loves that one, SIP card. And that is your GP registration card with all your patient information. Okay, so the S1 is comprehensive. It includes everything. If one of you is entitled to an S1, okay, so for example, you're entitled to an S1 and you're married, your spouse can piggyback off your S1, okay? You have to show the marriage certificate, but that means nobody then needs health insurance. You've all got S1s, you've all got your Spanish GP and your local hospital, okay? Let's have a look. Did your wife jump on your Spanish healthcare? Yes, yes, they. Wait, I can't find my little mouse. Well, I can have an S1 because she's retired, but I'm not. How does the upload go? Yeah, Brad. As I said, if you've got one of you's got the S1, the other person can piggyback off of that. Okay, we just have to show that marriage certificate. So we would get that marriage certificate for your application, and go through with that marriage certificate. When we register it here in Spain, that marriage certificate will entitle the other person to be able to piggyback. Okay. We are delayed in our. So if you've already taken out a private healthcare policy, but you're delayed, okay, what I would suggest is talking to the healthcare, Adam, the healthcare provider. Do you know who it was? If you just done.
It was Adelis.
That's like, right, okay. So all we have to do is we have to talk to them, okay, and make sure that when you go to the consulate, that they will issue a certificate stating that you're paid today and it's a year's policy and it renews on such and such a day, okay. The other option, what a lot of the insurance companies are doing, is that they're allowing you to extend the policy to cover those few months that you are unable to attend, okay, the consulate. So, for example, if you've been delayed for a few months, they'll say, okay, we'll do an 18-month policy. You pay those additional months, okay, and then they will issue the immigration certificate. Okay, so a lot of them at the moment, they're doing either on. You're paying on a month-by-month basis, but you've got that visa, you've got the policy for 1 year, okay. However, because the policy is for 1 year and you're delayed in your application, what they might do is ask you to take out the difference in those months, and then they will issue the correct certificate for the consulate. So definitely a possibility. The insurance companies are now working to meet the requirements that the consulate need, okay, and things like that. When there's a delay, they're now working hard to find solutions, the insurance companies. So not to worry, we'll be able to get that changed. Okay, perfect. How long do you have driving your UK car and driving license? Right, okay, driving licenses. So there is an agreement now between UK and Spain on your driving licenses. Other countries, there isn't. What we have to ask, though, before you do your exchange on your driving license, is where you did your driving test, okay? There seems to be a little glitch in the matrix, which I will be putting a complaint in about, that you have to have done your driving test in the UK to be able to process the driving license exchange. Okay, so people that did their driving tests, for example, South Africa, and moved to the UK and have lived there for many, many years, they're finding it very difficult at the moment to exchange to a their UK license to a Spanish one, because they did their tests outside of the UK. So the first question is, did you do your test in the UK? Okay, and if that's done, then you can do it. You have 6 months from your residency to process your driving license exchange. And what the exchange involves, you have to go on a machine at doctors. DGT is our equivalent of your DVLA. And honestly, it looks like the old Atari computer games. So you've got a computer and a joystick. And there's 2 types. You either keep the ball inside the lanes, so you're moving your joysticks like this, or a ball enters like a tube and you have to guess when it comes out and you press a button. You then have your eyesight checked, and general questions, blood pressure, that kind of thing. If you are taking medicine, they would like to see what medicine you're taking. And then from there, when you've got that medical certificate, it's then a swap over. There is a delay in them, okay, and the driving license is actually being issued, the actual card, but you're in the database from that point, okay? And then your UK car. My first question is, how much do you love your car? Okay, the reason being is that UK cars, you have to ask, they want an import duty tax of 33% of the car's value in Spain. Now, we all laugh because in Spain, when we're driving along, you know, we use bumpers as bumpers. You know, we're going to park our car like that. And we see it's a material object. And in the UK, you keep your cars meticulous. They're very, very well kept. But our car values stay up there. So when we look at a value, if you send over your V5s for your vehicles, I'll be able to tell you what the value is of that vehicle here in Spain, because I've got a list of all the cars and what their values are. What they want to see is they want to see if they can have that 33%. And you have to show that you're moving over, that you're going to do that exchange within 6 months to put on Spanish plates. But it all comes down to the border agent on the day, whether they're going to charge you that 33%. And 33% is the import duty. and then you've got the DGT taxes and other taxes involved. So yeah, whilst you've got 6 months, my question to you always will be, do you love your car? And if you do, send me the V5 and I will be able to tell you what costs you're looking at to import it. And then you can make an informed decision from there. Okay. But when you become a non-lucrative resident, okay, in Spain, 6 months to exchange your driving license. And then we can look at the car as well within those 6 months. Okay. Look. Are there any more questions? Raise your hands if you've got any questions. John, go on then. John, did you have a question?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I put it in the message, but it's do you have to hand over your UK driving license?
Yeah, you're doing an exchange of license. So what happens is you have to hand in your UK license, and then the DGT, which is the equivalent of the DVLA, they will be talking to each other, both bodies, and the DGT have to confirm to the DVLA that they have received that driving license.
Okay, so in X years' time, if people want to go back to the UK for whatever reason, you have to apply for
a new
UK
UK license.
driving license.
Yeah, but the UK DVLA have always said that if you decide to return to the UK and you exchange because you moved to Spain and then you're moving back to the UK, they will reissue that driving license for you. Okay.
Okay, so you don't have to do another
You
test.
don't
or
have to do a
anything
new
like
theory test or anything like that. No, you're not going on the road. But they have said, but you would have to just say, look, I've moved back. I was in Spain, and they would check the system, see that your UK license was converted to a Spanish license, and then that you've moved back again. Okay, and they would reissue UK license.
Yeah.
Okay.
See if you've got any unpaid fines.
Wow. It takes them a while to do that. So
Yeah. Okay.
perfect. Did I see that you had a question? Here you are. I've just asked you to unmute.
Yeah, I've got a question for you. When you've got the Spanish driving license, you've renewed it or you've just converted it from a UK driving license. If your UK driving license says it expires in 10 years or so, does that figure mirror onto the Spanish driving license, and then does that expire at the same time, or does it just give a new expiry date for Spain?
When you take a Spanish driving, when you do that medical with the DGT approved doctor, they will say if you're what the duration of your new license will be. So if you had an illness that they said, right, okay, we need to keep an eye on this, it's going to be valid for 3 years. After 3 years, you go back to that doctor, you say, look, it's still under control, and they will reissue your driving license.
Okay.
But it comes about, it's very personal. If you're fit and healthy, no problems, they will issue a 10-year driving license. But say that you had a problem with your eyesight or anything like that, they might do a reduction on the time that they issue the driving license for, just on the basis that they just want to keep check on it. Okay. They can do, other restrictions. If somebody's very old, but they still need to drive, they might say that they can only drive a radius of 20 kilometers from where they live. So they can go to the shops, they can do things, but they're not fit to drive on the motorway and things like that. It's just a way that for medically, it's to make sure that people on the road are medically fit to be able to drive.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. You've got your hand up there. Yeah. I've just asked you to unmute your microphone. Are you there? Is he going to do it? There you are. No, can't hear you. Might have to turn your microphone is off still. What is the age limit in driving for Spain? There's no age limit as long as you pass the medical, John. As long as you pass that medical and the doctor signs you off, you can drive. So just waiting for the microphone to start working there. Oh, one sec. Is anybody whilst you're working on that microphone or typing the questions, anybody else got any questions? Go on, John.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's just I see sort of somebody mentioned about the S1. So hopefully by the time we move, my wife will just be eligible for a pension, but I'll have a few more years left. So is it basically she'll be okay for the S1, but I'll have to pay for private, or
You can piggyback off of her S1. Once she's got that S1, you will have an S1 as a beneficiary, and you will be entitled to health coverage here in Spain under the S1.
okay, all right.
Okay. And then I've just seen, I know it's good. That one's good. It saves you some pennies. Adam, you've just asked about US licenses. At the moment, there's no agreement between the US and Spain. So US licenses, you're going to have to take the test, I'm afraid. But it's okay because you can take the theory test in English, and then you can actually do the practical test as well. There are some examiners that sit in the back and they do speak a little bit of English, or they allow your instructor to be next to you. So it's not a scary process at all, but you just got to know your highway code. I've actually got some other clients from the US that have just registered today, and we've just booked them in today for their theory test in Alicante. They're going to be, and they said, Emma, we've passed it. We've passed all the exams. We want to do our theory. So they're there. So the US, whilst there's not an agreement, we can certainly do or help you get through that theory test. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Then where do you get your S1 from? So you get your S1 form from what's called the NHS Overseas Healthcare Department. Ironically, their telephone number ends in 999. So what you have to do is you have to ring them up, and you have to give your name, and you also have to give your national insurance number. And they're going to ask you some of the privacy questions that you've got set to your account. They're going to ask you when you want to move to Spain. And normally they want to know that you're moving within the next 3 weeks. So we give them a date within those 3 weeks, and they will issue the S1. Okay. Once you've got that S1, what we need to do is register it with Spain, so it is valid for the consulate appointment. Okay. There is a little fly around here now. But yeah, that's not a problem. S1's Overseas Healthcare Department. And as I say, their telephone number, if you put them into Google, their telephone number, it comes up in 999. So I always remember that number. There's another question here about driving tests. Oh, hang on. You have to renew. No, the S1 is forever. Once you've had it issued, you've always got it issued. When we register it with we pre-register it for the consulate, and what we have to do then is once you've got your ID card, we then you register you with the doctor, okay, and you're then in the system, and with that certificate that they issue, you always got it. You don't have to renew it at all. The only time that you would have to ask for a new one is like John's just said, if he comes under his wife's umbrella, when you hit the state pension age and you're entitled to your own S1, they will ask you to ask for your own S1. But during that time, you're under the umbrella. It's not a problem. Okay. I'm going to ask you to unmute, and you do need the S1 for the interview. It just needs to be pre-registered, Brad. Oh, you're there. I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go on.
Yeah. Fine, Britta. Once you've got your visa and you've got the 3 months to come back to Spain, does it matter where you live, or do you have to have an address, or can you be in a motorhome in areas where looking for places?
When you've got your visa and it's in your passport, when you come and make that entry into Spain, they're going to stamp your passport. You will need a fixed address in Spain, okay? because you have to register with the town hall and get a certificate that's known as the padron. That's the address that's going to appear on the back of the ID card. So you're going to need an address, whether it be a friend's address, or if you are registered in a campsite, for example, and they allow you to go on the padron, you will need a padron certificate. If you then decide to travel around Spain, that's fine. You've got a fixed address, and that address is on the back of your ID card. So you will only need an address when you go for your ID and with the ID card and your fingerprint. But for the actual application process, you just need a postal address. So what I do for my clients, when they're in the process and they haven't quite yet purchased, I can put our office address down, okay? And the consulate know then that they're in the purchase, in those phases, okay?
It doesn't matter what area in Spain our postal address is.
No,
Okay.
as long as it's in Spain. Yeah, no, as long as it's in Spain, it can be the islands or anywhere. It's as long as you've got an address in Spain. And then when you go to your fingerprint appointment, wherever your padron is, so whatever the town hall that you've registered in, you fall under the catchment. So for example, where our office is in Benissa, if you are in our area, Moraira, Javier, Calpe, you know, any of those towns, you can go to Denia, you can go to Benidorm, you can go to Alicante for your fingerprints, okay? Those that are further south and Costa Blanca south, they might go to Orihuela Costa, Orihuela, Torrevieja, Alicante for their fingerprints. So it just depends on where your town hall certificate is issued from, to what area more or less you're going to be doing your fingerprint appointment in. Okay.
Yep.
What is the average time the consulate keep your passport? Right. Good question. The consulates in the UK ask to keep your passport. Okay. However, if you are traveling, okay, in those 90 days that they can take to respond, because they might keep your passport, if you allow them, they might try and keep that passport for the time that it takes. If it takes them 90 days to review your application, they will then keep it for the 90 days. However, if you show them that you're going to be traveling, okay, then what you can do, you show them that you've got a flight booked. What they will do is that they will say to you, that's fine, we'll give you back your passport, not a problem, but can you please sign this document to say that once the visa has been approved, you return back to the consulate with your passport, and so that they can put the visa in the passport. So it is an and or situation at the moment. Or you give them your passport and a self-addressed envelope with a tracking number. What they do is they put the visa in the passport, pop it in the envelope and send it back to your address. Or you promise to return when they send you the email to say your visas are ready, and you go and they put that visa in the passport for you. Okay. Paul, did you have a question? I can't hear you, Paul. I think your microphone is off.
I've got a question for you, Emma.
Yeah, go on. Oh, sorry? You might have to unmute.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go on then.
Right. Okay, Emma. If you're successful with your non-lucrative visa, and obviously you're not working, do you still need to do a tax return in Spain once you've actually moved?
Yeah, as you're going to be doing a tax return every year, April, May, June time of every year. Okay, you have the obligation to do a tax declaration. What you put on that declaration is between you and your accountant, but you do have that obligation. Whilst you're not working, you still have that obligation because that's under the rules of the residency, the visa,
Right.
and the non-lucrative residency. Okay,
Right.
so you still have that obligation, but as I said, it's a year in arrears. So if you move out next year, you'll be doing your tax return for next year in 2025. So
Yeah.
you've got a while to do it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. I was going to mute myself then. That wouldn't have been good, would it? Is there any other questions? Any more? John, did your hand just go up then?
Yeah, I've asked it in the chat. But
Oh, sorry, the chat's going like
yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, so if you get your non-lucrative visa, do you have to wait a full calendar year before, if your circumstances change and you want to do some work or you've been offered some work, do you have to wait a full calendar year before you can change your visa type, or can you do it interim?
No, in the first instance, you have to wait until your renewal is in process. So that first year of your visa, okay? The
Okay.
renewal you can do 60 days before the TIE card expires. So that's when you can actually put in that you would like to, and that you're doing it in advance because you want, because it looks better in the application than doing it late. But yeah, if you put it in 60 days beforehand with all the other documentation, as I say, work contract or promise of a work contract, or if you're going to be self-employed and you've decided that you're going to, this is your business plan and this is your market research, and you put that all in at the same time, okay? But yeah, you have to wait the full year first.
Yeah. Okay. So it can be work in Spain. It doesn't have to be work outside of Spain.
Yeah, that would. No, it would be working in Spain.
Right.
You'd
Yeah.
have to
So if
ask
it was,
to work in Spain.
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Paul D, I know you've got questions. Is your microphone? We still can't hear you, Paul. It doesn't look like your microphone settings are on your computer. Do you want to chat it? Put it in the chat underneath, or what we can do is we can have a conversation. It's up to you. David, if you already have a property in Spain and you get your renewal to sell this property, you pay tax. If not, okay. Any tax, when you sell a property, you've always got the capital gains tax here in Spain. So when you sell it, you have capital gains tax. What that capital gains tax depends where you are, what town you're in, okay, and any profit you've made on that property. But yes, you know, if you're going to reinvest, things like that, you would be guided by your accountant who would work it all out for you prior to doing the sale. Okay. I'm just having a look. Paul D, is your microphone on yet? We're almost there, he says. Let's have a look. So remember, you can all have a Zoom call with me. All you just got to do is send me an email. There is a couple more questions coming in here, but just as a recap, you can all have a Zoom call with me, okay, to discuss your visas personally. We can work out timings. Now, we have, I'm in the office, I'm doing the immigration. I have my right-hand lady, Stephanie, and we've also got Megan on the desk as well, who's just started her immigration courses as well. So that's all good. So we're always available to answer your questions. Nigel. Hi, Nigel. If I rent my UK property for 2 to 3 years, will I be able to pay the CGT if I sell it? Again, that is going to depend. If you're on a non-loop visa and you sell your UK property, we need a tax accountant to work out what your capital gains, if you're going to have to pay it. Okay. As I said at the beginning, it's very individual. And what I'll do is I'll put you in contact with somebody that can talk about CGT in the UK and in Spain. Okay. You would be a tax resident in 2 to 3 years, a tax resident of Spain. So we just have to work out those figures and if it's applicable to you, okay? And then I've got one more question here.
Give me your question.
Oh, go on then. Is it there? Are you there?
Well,
I can hear you, but I can't see you. Perfect. So I can't see any more questions that are. Take out a name. Is it?
Hi, Emma.
Hi.
It's Paul and Tracy again.
Hi, Paul. How are you?
Somebody asked a question earlier. If your UK passport expires within the first 5 years, can you renew in Spain, or do you have to return to the UK?
No, you can renew it here in Spain. That's not a problem.
And do you need to take an actual driving test to drive in Spain, or is it just medical?
UK driving license, if you did your test in the UK, then what you can do is you just have to do the medical test for your driving license, hand-eye coordination, and they will swap it over. Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you.
You're welcome. Perfect. So, as I was saying, you've always got me. You can have a one-on-one, okay, Zoom call. Just send me an email to emma@aldertons.es. We can send you all through the details, okay, the costs, okay. We can have breakdowns of all the documents so you know what it's going to be. I can send you out health insurance providers too. If you'd like that one-on-one with me, we can work out the timings, the process, and we can have a good chat about it. I will be sending out everybody the recording as well so that you can go over it again and again, okay? And then hopefully we'll have that one-on-one very, very soon. Remember, I'm from Aldertons. We're in Benissa, Valencia to Alicante. And we're here to answer any of your questions and get you over here to Spain.
Yeah, one final one. Sorry, Emma, before you
Go on
disappear.
then.
Yeah, I've put it in
Where
the
are you?
chat.
Oh, it's John. Hi, John.
Do you have to take out the NLV at a UK consulate, or can you do it in Spain?
No, you have to take out the first initial application has to be done at a Spanish consulate in the country of origin or residency. So in your instance, it'd be the UK.
Yeah.
Okay.
For further sort of renewals,
Renewals,
that's done in Spain.
that would be done here in Spain. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. Very informative.
You're very, very welcome. I'll talk to you all very soon. Have a good evening. And as I say, any questions, just drop me an email to emma@aldertons.es. Okay.
Okay. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you. See you later.
Thank you, Emma.
You're welcome.
Bye.
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 Thank you.
Bye. Bye, Adam.